Welcome to Bangalore. Welcome to IIM Bangalore. This is the Indian Institute of Management. This is the campus where the out of the box, the unconventional movie Three Idiots was shot. And here, after the budget, we are joined with a distinguished panel of guests. But before we introduce our guests, it appears that the macro picture of the budget is quite appealing. But we will try and identify the specific takeaways for the IT sector. Joining me in the show is Professor Charan Singh. He is RBI Chair, Professor of Economics. Professor Rahul Dey, he is HP Chair, Professor. And Mr. Niranjan Maka, Vice President, Research and Development, VMware India. Mr. Ignatius Thambiraj, Director, AMD. Both Mr. Maka and Mr. Thambiraj are also cloud computing professionals. Now, on the macro side, Professor Singh, how do you see it, the feel-good aspect? Everything seems to be just falling in place, looks good to you.
I think the budget is a very encouraging budget. I would give it a real strong thumbs up. It's a policy-oriented budget, and a budget that the finance minister gives is just not an accounting exercise. It's a policy-oriented exercise. So you take at the policy orientation angle, he has spoken about the debt management, spoken about a policy on gold, he has spoken about a very bold thing, policy on black money, and he has also spoken for the first time on social security issues, where he speaks about the old age things. When you go into the specifics, almost every aspect of life has been covered. He has spoken about agriculture, he has spoken about industry, he has spoken about Make in India, he has spoken about the micro and small scale industries. So I think it's a very, very positive budget.
Professor Dey, for the IT sector.
Well, there are certain provisions which the minister has made which are very nice. Reduction of taxes, resolution of taxes also. However, I am a little bit disappointed, I must admit. I would have expected a little bit more. The government's role in IT is very strong, and the government can promote this sector in a very big way. To take a specific case, the government is promoting, let's say, Make in India, and here Make in India, one of the biggest things we make is software. And here the specific issue I'm concerned about is software, we do services, but making products in software, we're not doing enough, and I don't see enough in the budget in that. Specific case, open source, promotion of open source. Open source technology is one of the biggest foundries anywhere in the world for making software. I think we should recognize that and promote it.
Mr. Maka, do you think this is a missed opportunity for the finance minister to address or provide impetus, the much needed impetus for you people?
So here is the thing, right? For a long time, a lot of crescendo is being built around Make in India and Digital India. I do agree with Professor Singh. This is a long-term, growth-oriented budget with a lot of jobs getting created and all that. So look at the two big things, Digital India and Make in India. First, Make in India. I think that's fantastic. So there will be a lot of technology pull into Make in India, especially if you look at defense, right? That's a good thing. And if we try to focus on manufacturing hub, that's a great thing too. So there's an indirect technology pull. The Digital India, I kept scanning headlines and the budget to say, hey, what exactly is happening on Digital India there, right? Yes, some 3.5 lakh kilometers of cable is being laid. That is where the missed opportunity is. Like what Professor Rahul Dey said, it's not just hardware and cable being drawn. There's a whole infrastructure. Look at your mobile or cloud computing. A whole lot of infrastructure needs to be built there, right? Now, how are we going to achieve that is a missed opportunity. Maybe the details will emerge later, but a lot of the spending happens from state government, IT sectors, right? Now, if they just buy hardware, lay the cables, you won't say anything, right? There has to be more in terms of a holistic thinking around Digital India.
What exactly were you looking for?
A little bit of that is touched somewhere. You know, this cannot be solely a government sector kind of affair. There is the whole private enterprises, and then the entrepreneurs, the front-end startup people who need to be doing a lot of application development.
There's a lot for them.
Well, the platform, how do you create the platform? The focus needs to be there on that. How do you create the platform, right? The back-end infrastructure, the cloud computing infrastructure, for example, or how do you enable security on mobiles? A lot of that has to happen. Government needs to focus on how do you create an infrastructure. A lot of entrepreneurs need to be onboarded to develop those applications.
I'll get Mr. Thamirajan. Mr. Thammiraj, you were just sharing with me just before this show that 90% of the media seems to be very happy with the budget, and somehow being an IT professional, you're not so encouraged by it, are you?
One thing we have to acknowledge is that the budget actually meets aspiration of lots of people.
But that's the big picture.
That's the big picture.
Yeah.
So it has incremental improvements over the existing condition, which actually is going to help almost everybody in the country, especially those who are already in playing in India. Right now, having business in India are definitely going to benefit. However, the disappointment comes, for example, from the newer technologies to be deployed in India. For example, cloud computing. If India have to become a leader in cloud computing, we need to address things like software as services, platform as services, how these will be taxed, how the tax treatment for each of the services in these areas, or maybe it is too early for me to expect this. It may be a next level coming later, but at this time there is
No, it's never too late. What exactly were you looking for in the tax part implication for cloud computing? If you can also explain to the viewers and all of us exactly what you were looking for, so that all of us understand that it was a much needed impetus but ignored or could not be touched upon.
Yeah, if you take cloud computing, the cloud computing is not going to be limited to a specific country. It's going to be cross-border. Software as services and platform as services are going to play across the globe. And so there are country-to-country relations involved, there is data transfers involved, how they will be taxed, what is the definition of service in the space, simple. So the underlying definitions are required to support the tax treatment. So this is possibly a good place, I think it's a missed opportunity not defining, what are the components which need to be taxed in this area.
Professor Singh, I would like to bring you in. The overall atmospherics appears to be very good, as you yourself have felt. And one of your recommendations have been accepted. And now you have a debt management committee. The government has accepted that, which you were pushing for a long time. But do you see the concerns of the IT? That's the second part. Being really addressed in the budget or being overlooked?
I think budget as an exercise, and finance minister's speech generally gives a broad spectrum of thinking that the government is doing on a specific issue. If you look at the budget, certain things have been done which the IT sector was asking and would really benefit. If you remember the royalty tax, there's been a reduction in the royalty tax. So to that extent, something has been done. They have been speaking about lots of employment generation in the IT sector. And now they have spoken about SETU, the self-employment technical thing. They're going to set up a corpus fund. So startups would happen. So therefore, I think
where it is a $1.5 billion industry and going in for these small measures, don't you think it's just window dressing?
I would think it's a direction. The government can only give so much and not everything, and then the private sector comes in. I would like you to look at the budget in one more aspect. Clearly the budget mentioned, and yesterday the economic survey also mentioned, that neither the private sector nor the public sector can completely take the country into a highly developed phase. They have to come together. So even just earmarking 1,000 crore for that endeavor, I think is an indication that the government is
of good intention.
Of good intention.
Remember, acknowledge IT sector.
Yes.
We remember, acknowledge the big role of the IT sector, but we'll come to it later on.
No, it also means that the IT sector is pretty rich. They have huge resources. Here is an indicator, but they should be able to
take off on their own.
Take off on their own and pool in many more resources.
Professor Rahul Dey, do you really think on their own, whereas you just now said that interventions or indications from the government are really important for you to really start flying? Because it's a technology-driven sector. Every day there are changes. Absolutely. And all those changes need to be addressed because there are implications for people and money being lost. Do you see that the real indication or the intention has been addressed?
Yes, the intention is there, certainly. I would have said some things more would have helped. I'll take a specific case. The government is saying we'll open more IITs and IIMs. Very nice. Frankly, we need a lot more happening in that education space. We don't need one more IIM. In fact, probably even 10 more may help, may not help. For IT in particular, we need a form of learning which is mass-based. We need to have a few lakh more engineers come in who understand IT very well. So what I'm referring to is this impetus on digital learning, on massive online open courseware. This is when we are making the pipes which are being laid out, like the optical fiber networks, this is the water that will flow in the pipes. This is what will make things very, very useful for a large section of the population.
Which the government will probably elaborate on later in the next year or maybe other. But this year, there is no addressing
I
that
don't
issue.
see it, yes.
On the issue of the MAT, if you can, the expectations or the concerns of the IT sector on minimum alternative tax, do you see that being addressed? Because 18.5, the existing, and you people have been wanting it to be brought down. That has been brought down, but does that have any implication for you?
In the sense that MAT on SEZ units, so there's a whole lot of things we worked out there. So we need to dig into those details there, right? On a slightly lateral topic there, right? IT sector today is largely urban centric, right? Now, where is the focus on tier 2, tier 3 cities? Okay, because if this has to get up and run, right, it cannot be a few professionals, a few lakh professionals all in urban areas, right? We have to take it to the other sectors. Now, how do you promote the SEZ and all those kind of units there is a point I would say.
Do you agree with that? Because non-SEZ IT setups do not get the benefits that the SEZ setups get.
So, in my personal opinion, this concept of SEC, STPI is in fact is draconian, meaning it's not positive. It's not towards encouraging businesses. It's not towards doing ease of doing business. The moment you box the people inside an SEC, they cannot go out from one building to another building. They can't take their laptop to this building to that building. All these restrictions are really, if you go down to the, down at the bottom layer of people who are actually doing the work, they suffer every day. And this is certainly not a conducive to environment to bring in make in India kind of culture, where people have to be more creative. There's a big difference between what culture is established today, which is more service oriented. In the service oriented sector, you say, give me the work, I will do it. Okay. Now, however, we need a shift in the mind, in the culture towards saying, no, I will do it. I will invent, I will innovate, and I will do it. So, is there a message to shift the culture? That may be missed opportunity.
So, what you are actually trying to say is that, I mean, if there is entrepreneurship, that should be allowed to take off on anywhere, wherever basis,
Correct.
And not specifically
Yes.
in identified areas
Yes.
where all the entrepreneurs get in and are ghettoed,
Yes.
and they are the entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
That's what you,
Absolutely.
and that is where the IT sector's needs have not been addressed. For anyone who doesn't have his entire setup in the SEZ,
Correct.
does not get the benefits.
Yes.
That has been addressed or
Yes.
no?
It's not addressed.
Professor Charan Singh, coming back to you again on the overall, e-commerce is the next big thing. The finance minister did address the GST issue, which will have certain implications for the e-commerce activity. Then also the VAT issue was addressed by the finance minister, and that is going to have an implication on the e-commerce activity, which is the next big thing. How do you see it really having an implication whenever this change happens?
Yes, before I take that question, I just wanted to make one more point. Professor Rahul Dey, my colleague, mentioned IITs and IIM. Now, if you would have noticed in the budget, the finance minister said he's going to open more IITs and IIMs. And I always have a feeling that training an engineer is far more expensive. Now, in IIMs, 90% of the students who really filter and come through the system are engineers. So I would rather like the finance minister and the country to start thinking in terms of multiplying elite schools which teach commerce, law or economics. For example, Shri Ram College of Commerce in Delhi is an elite. Lady Shri Ram College is a female college and elite college. I think it's time rather train engineers and then ask them to come and do IMB and then pick up a consulting job or pick up a finance job. We waste so much of money. That was besides the point, but I thought it's an important point. We should just get out of that thinking of only multiplying IITs or
And IIMs. Correct.
The other thought is the question that you asked. Yes, you are right. Directly the issue of e-commerce was not addressed, and we recently had a huge Flipkart sale, and you would have seen the debate in the newspapers, and sometimes it was most of the time the rumors which said the minister said this and now they're going to get taxed and now they're going to look into it. So there was lots of uncertainty in the IT sector as to what that is the future. E-commerce is the future, and if there is no clarity on how e-commerce is going to be taxed or how it's going to be dealt with, to that extent it deters the young entrepreneur. Now, as far as the GST is concerned, the FM was very clear that it's going to be implemented from April 1, 2016. To that extent, certainty has been brought in. And I think as I looked at the budget when I was hearing it, FM did not want to absolutely hurt the apple cart. He is just trying to hold on the good feel factor. He says this is the country. Look, there's another example. He's just postponed GAR. He said for 2 years, just not let's get into it.
You are saying he doesn't want to spook the growth aspect and the investors and the entrepreneurs.
Yes, as well as the sentiments.
Right.
So he has kept it on hold. It's not only the e-commerce and the tax on e-commerce. There are other taxes also. There are double taxation problems and all those are there. He's just been silent on it. And I think one of the reasons is he just wants to take care of the sentiments. Once the GST thing is sorted out, then other things come.
You mean small steps at a time?
Small steps at a time and keeping the investor confidence in place.
Coming back to the e-commerce thing. See, I mean, my own experience I'll share with you. When you go to a Flipkart or a Snapdeal or a Amazon and these kind of, they have now switched over to allowing every individual entrepreneurs to host their products on their sites. They charge 2% and the rest of the risk is of the entrepreneur who's putting up its product there. Now, that's a new thing that they've started, which I think has got a lot to do with the taxation structure in this country. What are they exactly scared of? The e-commerce sites.
It is the taxation that comes post hoc. See, today if I sell something in Karnataka and it is shipped to somebody in Tamil Nadu, clearly you have an issue. Karnataka will say we want the tax, Tamil Nadu will say we want the tax. All the e-commerce sites want is clarity. Look, either you tax me here or you tax me there. Don't post hoc come and say, okay, you have to pay something there and pay something there, and it will be run into hundreds of crores. This is the issue. Now, let me add one thing here. You see, this problem is all over the world. E-commerce is spreading all over the world. Countries have tried legislation, EU has tried, Americans have tried. This is a significant problem. It is not that it is an easy one to solve. I think what we can do is come up with some very progressive taxation on this, which tells the world how to solve this problem. Because we are like an EU ourselves.
Correct. Any ideas on that?
Resolution has to be at the point of sale. Very simple resolution. At the point of sale, don't think about where it is going, because that is what creates the confusion. At the point where it is sold, where you are doing the billing, you stop it there. And tell states, look, even if it goes to Tamil Nadu, no, the billing will happen here. Now there will be gaming that will happen on this, but over time, other players will come up who will game it from that side. So a simple resolution will most likely work. Again, I cannot predict this accurately.
Correct. Mr. Maka, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think if you just get the gist of all these things, the ease of doing business, keeping things very simple, and we have an opportunity, right? E-commerce has not been seen, right? 15, 20 years ago it wasn't there, right? And all the countries are grappling with it. We could have been very bold on those kind of things, right? That's the message. Keep it very simple, right? That way it's this clarity. I know what I have to do, right? So, and that aspect actually goes into all the things we're talking about, right? For example, this If I had to move computers from one building to another, which is bonded, non-bonded, it's a nightmare actually, right? These are the kind of things, right, that has to be simplified. And when you're trying to go into the next century and all that, right, and make in India and digital India and all that, these things have to be simplified.
Mr. Thambiran?
So if I can just touch upon the people side of the story. Okay. If you see, if you want to have Make in India seriously, we really need people to make in India. You know, the people who are higher talent, who has higher talents. So for example, let's say if you want to manufacture, say, high function automobile or any such higher engineering, you require an area called computational sciences. India is one of the country currently the weakest in computational sciences. If you see any country which is at the top, their computational sciences skills are at the very top. So though there are news about there are some about additional IITs, additional IIMs are there, but what are we doing to improve the talent? And this is, for example, how can we improve the talent? One example could be encourage closer collaboration between industry and academia. Though it is there at a very high level, there is no concrete steps taken
Happening on the ground.
for last so many years. One instance there is, for example, if you have a R&D money, the R&D money, where does it go? Can an entrepreneur get that money? Right now, there's no easy way to get that money. A private entrepreneur, right? Such difficulties are still on the
Just quickly, very quickly, this is the last take on it. On the digital India, are you satisfied with the goals that have been set and the policy that has been laid out?
I think much more could have been done. And on Digital India itself, when they talk about JAM, Jan Aadhaar card and the mobile, I think mobile through which technology that's going to work has not been sorted out. They could have even explored television banking, not sorted out. So I think much more could have been done on digital.
Professor Ray, quickly.
Yes, certainly is more. We need deeper penetration and we need the content that goes into those pipes. I will repeat that again. We have to put in more money and more effort in making that content which is worthwhile, which will serve the nation.
Mr. Maka?
Great intent, go put money where the intention is.
Yeah, they are very good infrastructure at the bottom level, but we need to go up, address the software and services side of the story.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being with us on this great show. There's more discussion on the budget on the other side of the break. Time for us to head into a break.